Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is the ninth tutorial in this course, and in this tutorial we are going to talk about creating tables in SQL. So there are three steps that you need to follow while creating tables in SQL, and the first one is, well, obviously you have to name the table that you're creating, and the second one is that you have to define the columns that the table is going to have, and the last thing that you have to do is mention data types of columns. And I have not specified mentioning constraints in the create table statement because that's not necessary, right? So these are three things that you absolutely have to do, but if you also want to apply some constraints to the columns that you have in your table, then you can do that too, right? So there are lots of things that you can do, and create table statement is one of the most powerful statements in SQL, and obviously it has to be, right? Because the data is going to be in tables, and creating tables is like the essence of database management. So this is the syntax of the create table statement, and create table statement, by the way, is what you use to create tables. And you have to first specify two keywords. The first one is create, the second one is table. So these keywords you just have to mention, and then you have to give a space and type in the name of the table, and then you have to type in the opening parentheses character, and then you have to specify all the columns that you want your table to have along with the data types. And there has to be a space between the column name and the data type. And then if suppose after you've declared the first column, you want to mention more columns, then you have to use the comma character. And once you're done specifying all the columns and the data types, you can put in the closing parentheses character and then put in a semicolon to terminate the entire statement. And I've mentioned the primary key constraint at the last step, or the last line in the create table statement in the slide that you're seeing at the moment. But you can specify it while creating the columns as well, and that's what we're going to check out next when I demonstrate the create table statement to you in MySQL Workbench. So now I have my workbench, and I'm going to show you guys how the create table statement works. So at the moment I'm using the test database, and you can see that the test database is written in bold, and that's because I've used it. But if you still want to double check, then what you can do is use the use statement and type in the name of the database that you want to use. So in this case I want to use test, so that's why I'll type in use test and press the control enter key combination, and in the output part I see that the statement has been processed, right? So now I'm going to use the test database, and I'm going to create a table called employee. And to do that, as I said, we're going to use the create table statement, and all SQL keywords preferably you should write in uppercase letters, because when you share your code with someone, it becomes easier for that person to follow, and it also becomes easier for you to know what words in your statements are SQL words or keywords, and what statement words are your own words or identifiers, right? So the name of the table, as I mentioned, is going to be employee. And on the next line I'm going to put in the opening parentheses character, and the first column that this table is going to have is the ID column, and it's going to be of integer type, right? Because the ID for the employee is going to hold numeric values only, and that's not necessary, but in this particular case I would want it to have only numeric values. And I would also want this this field to be the primary key for the table. And I missed mentioning it in the last tutorial, but in a table, if you have 5 columns or 10 columns or 500 columns, no matter how many columns you have, only one column can be the primary key, right? And I would just have to type in the keywords primary and key after declaring the column, and then I'll put in a comma because I'm going to specify the next column name, and that is going to be name, right? So we're going to have a field that holds names for employees, and this is going to be of varchar type, and the maximum number of characters that I want this field to hold is 30, so I'm going to specify 30 here. And the limit part has to be between parentheses, and this is something that we discussed in the tutorial on data types. Next we are going to specify another column for the table, and this one is going to be date of birth, and we would want this to be of date time type, right? And the next field that I want this table to have is the email field, and this is also going to be of varchar type, and I would want this to have let's say 40 characters. And well, that's it. I want this table to have no more fields, so I'll put in the closing parentheses character and put in a semicolon to terminate the statement. And now when I press the control enter key combination, I get the message in the output portion of the workbench that the create table employee statement has been processed correctly and no rows have been affected thus far, because we haven't populated the table yet, we've just created it. And if you want to make sure that your table has been created, there are a couple of things that you can do. The first and the easiest thing that you can do is just go to the object browser portion and click on the drop down for the database that you've been using. So in this case we've been using test, so click on the drop down for test, and then you would find three options under the database that you've selected. So under test I see tables, views and routines, so click on the drop down for tables and you would see the employee table in that list. So this is the easiest way of checking whether your table has been created or not. The other way that we're going to discuss is by using the DESC statement, and again DESC is an SQL keyword, and you have DESC with MySQL and Oracle, but I don't think my Microsoft SQL Server allows you to use DESC. So that's why I would suggest you to use some other alternatives to check whether your table exists or not, and we're going to check out the other alternatives later on. But DESC works with MySQL, so it's a very 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 nice command and I love using it. So you type in DESC, which is a short form for describe, and then the name of your table, which in this case is employee, right? And you put in a semicolon and you press the enter key. In the results section you would see that all the columns that you have in the table are displayed. You also see the data types of each column, and you also see whether the column can have null values or not, and if you have any constraint applied on that column or not. So the ID field, as you can see, is of integer type, and it cannot hold null values, so that's why no is written under the null column, and it is the primary key, so that's mentioned. And of course it doesn't have any default value because we haven't specified that in the create table statement. The name field is of varchar type, and the DOB field is of date time type, and the email field is of variable character type too, right? So that's all I wanted to discuss in this tutorial. I hope you guys had fun. In the next tutorial we are going to discuss something important too, and create table, we're going to check out lots of variations of it in this course, and this was just a brief introduction to the command, and I hope you've gained some information, and thank you so much for watching this tutorial. We'll see you in the next one, and please subscribe to my channel in case you haven't already, and take care.